Hello everybody and welcome back on my channel. Today I'm going to talk about saxophone and I'm going to tell 5 fun facts about saxophone that you may not know. Okay, so let's get into it. Okay, number 1 is it has a unique history. The saxophone is the only instrument in wide use today that was invented by a single individual, a musical instrument designer named Adolf Adolphe Sax. Hence hence the name saxophone. Sax was born in Belgium in 1814. He was a versatile musician who could play many wind instruments, and he set out to create one that would not only embody the solistic and literal nat- nature of a woodwind, but also be better heard among brass instruments in 1847. His invention, the saxophone, was painted uh, painted in Paris. Fun fact: though a creative and enthusiastic person, Sax was not the luckiest child. Numerous accidents during his youth almost ended his life. These include falling from the third-story window, being burned from a gunpowder accident, swallowing a pin, nearly drowning, and being poisoned 3 times. So, these are fun facts about the inventor of a saxophone creator. So next one is number 2. There once were 14 different saxophones. 14. And okay, so let's read it. Out of the 4 sax, though the saxophone would be capable uh, of fitting in with a variety and of ensemble, and so he made them in a range of size from the soprano in the high range to the contrabass in the low range. He also invented a saxhorn, a brass instrument with valves similar to today flugelhorn and alto horn. However, in 14 different of the however of the 14 different types Adolfer invented, there are only 4 types in widespread use today. In pitch order, they are from high to low: the B flat soprano, E flat alto, B flat tenor, and E flat baritone. Each of these saxophones was a range uh, that spanned 2 of the half octaves. So it goes from the highest, which is soprano, then alto, tenor, and baritone is really big. I played the baritone, and it's very very low. Okay, so let's go. Third is it's the only brass woodwind. From its earlier days, the saxophone was always made of brass. However, because it generates sound with a single reed, it is classified as a woodwind. The only other metallic woodwind in is the flute, which was made entirely of wood at first. Something that something that's sometimes seen even today. Number four, all about bringing balance. Because the saxophone was designed to bridge the gap between brass and woodwind, it plays an important role in creating tonal balance. Not only does it serve a blend the different different tones of these two groups, but it can also help support both high and low woodwinds. Due to this degree, a versatility, uh, it it plays an important role as a middle voice in a large ensemble. Number five and the last one. It has a dynamic personality. A dynamic range of the saxophone is the widest of all the woodwinds because it has a con- conical bore and not a cylindrical one. In other words, it too becomes progressively narrowed toward one end as opposed to a clarinet, where the diameter of the tube remains relatively constant. The saxophone can produce a sound that is surprisingly similar to the human voice. This gives it a wide range of emotional expressions that makes it ideal as a solo instrument. So it should come as no surprise that the saxophone features prominently in the history of jazz music. Less Less well known is the fact that the sax often plays an important role of classical music too. Uh, person, particularly in the words of French composers, uh, and is used in a wide range of instrumental groupings, including chamber groups, orchestras, and wind chambers. So these were the 5 facts about the saxophone. I am also gonna read the bonus question. The bonus question is, what's the difference between jazz and classical saxophone? Though the principles of the instrument are the same, the qualities of a saxophone can be different in jazz as compared to classical music. With jazz, the ideal saxophone allows players um, uh, trem- uh, tremendous freedom in expression, and so they tend to professional and to prefer an instrument with a large board that is one with a more than dramatic taper. The raspy tone and cutting power of a jazz saxophone contributes to the texture of the music that helps the instrument stand out during soloing. In contrast, classical saxophonists must perform with many other instruments in the orchestra, and so they tend to prefer an instrument with a clean, refined tone and crisp as articulation. Uh, Generally, classical players prefer a more gradual taper as it gives more precise control over pitch and dynamics. However, the differences between a jazz and a classical saxophone are subject to opinion. There are numerous examples of jazz saxophone using a classical instrument and vice versa. The only way to know which works best for you is to try both. Um, the mouthpieces are even more different of jazz saxophone mouthpieces is relatively wide with thin walls and a large chamber that gives a player tonal flexibility and construct. A classical saxophone mouthpiece is designed with a more narrow space to provide greater control. However, one mouthpiece can be citable from multiple genres. For example, some jazz soprano saxophonists prefer a classical mouthpiece for its clean tone. Changing the mouthpiece will have a drastic effect on how the instrument plays. Everything from the tone, sounds, quality, pitch, and artic- are I'm sorry, articulation will be different. The crook, the cork uh, of the end of a saxophone neck allows a variety of mouthpieces to be attached to a um, players can change them depending on the sound they wish to achieve. So this was a bonus question, and I'm really sorry for all of the mistakes I did. I had to stop because I'm not that good of talking. So yeah, this was it. Thank you for watching. If you even watched. So yeah, thank you.